Iowa's governor gets a national moment this week. Now, you might remember back in 2015, it was an Iowa senator with the party's response to a president's State of the Union address. We're going to look ahead to Tuesday for the governor's time. Plus, the newly formed Bastion Institute, it debuted in Des Moines with a former U.S. Secretary of State. We're going to be one-on-one with Mike Pompeo. And the question for Iowa Democrats, would it be better to actually have a primary in that race for governor?
From your local election headquarters, this is The Insiders with Dave Price.
We're going to start internationally with Russia's president's decision to invade the neighboring Ukraine. Former U.S. Secretary of State and maybe possible presidential candidate Mike Pompeo, he happened to be in Des Moines just hours before that attack. I asked him first about those national headlines saying that Pompeo had praised Vladimir Putin.
What I said was that he is smart, cunning, and capable. That's true. He is also evil and an authoritarian dictator. That's possible to be each of those things. I said them because it's important that you know who your adversary is. When I was a cadet at West Point, I was taught, don't pretend your enemy's weak when they're not. Don't pretend they're stupid when they're smart. You need to know who they are. If you're going to crush them, and we did for 4 years, if you're going to crush them, you need to acknowledge their strengths. I remember when Barack Obama called ISIS the JV. Right? They weren't the JV. They rolled through Syria and caused 6 million people to lose their homes. We came in and said, no, this is a capable adversary. Let's go beat the heck out of them. And we did. So I've seen the progressive left say that calling Vladimir Putin smart and cunning is somehow Putin worship. Nothing could be further from the truth. Acknowledging that he is capable and willing to do horrible things is the first step towards making sure you are prepared to prevent those things from happening to the people of Ukraine, the people throughout the rest of Europe, and ultimately making sure that we protect the things that matter to us here in the homeland.
All right, let's put you on the spot. In the previous administration, can you recall how many countries you visited?
I don't know for sure. I think the number was between 80 and 90.
All right, then in your dealings with so many foreign leaders, what's your opinion of Putin? Is it, when you're trying to negotiate, whether it's sanctions, whatever the heck it is, to try to avoid this escalation, can you trust the guy? How do you deal with somebody like that?
It's a really important question. I did deal with lots of world leaders, from Chairman Kim to Xi Jinping to autocrats in other parts of the world as well. Putin's like many of them in this following sense. He understands power and not much else. He's happy to abrogate a promise that he's made. He's happy to walk away from a treaty commitment or an obligation. He did that on our watch too. We withdrew from the treaty when he failed to comply. You can't take him at his word. He is not to be trusted, and having diplomacy with him without the shadow of power sitting behind you, without the risk that there will be real costs imposed on him, it's a one-way street, and he will walk all over you. We need to be forceful and strong and capable. We have the economic power to do so.
When you do sanctions, how do you get him so he feels it? You maybe have made them work a little harder to move their money around, but how do you get at him?
You can almost always figure out where the leaders of these countries have resources parked. And if you can't find theirs, and Vladimir Putin has many resources, he's a very wealthy man. If you can't find that person's resources, you can find that of their family members, their girlfriends, their oligarchs, the people they hang around with. You can begin to make things very difficult for the people around them. And we should have done that many, many months ago. When Vladimir Putin first began to threaten by rolling forces up across the border in a way that was pretty clear of his intent, pretty clear with respect to his intentions, we ought to have done just that.
So for folks back here in our state, how much angst should they have as they watch the news coverage of this from overseas?
I've heard some, on frankly both the left and the right, say this isn't our fight, we should ignore Ukraine, why do we care? There are so many reasons for the people of Iowa to care. First of all, there's direct economic impact. Natural gas prices will spike as a direct result of natural gas increasing. Right? Natural gas prices will go up, fertilizer will cost more, and every farmer will pay more for that. I know Kansas farmers, just like Iowa farmers, really worry about the price of fertilizer. Consumers will pay more for their gasoline at the pump, partly because of Ukraine, partly because Joe Biden shut down American energy at home. Those are both mistakes. We got to go fight this on the energy front as well and produce all this energy and send it to the Ukrainian people and to the Germans. They should also care because prosperity and stability matter. For countries like ours who trade around the world and for whom markets matter, we should want every country to abide by a set of trading rules that benefit Iowa farmers, Kansas farmers, manufacturers in Iowa, places that truly depend on global trade. Lastly, as a moral matter, these are people who want freedom. The Cuban people wanted freedom, we supported them. The people of Venezuela wanted to be out from under Maduro, we supported them. The people of North Korea were suffering. We should do those things we can here at home to make sure the people who just want to live a sovereign, independent life have the capacity to do so.
Next, the national moment for Iowa's governor.